Good evening, I'm Alicia Malone and welcome back to TCM Spotlight, the defining frontier, the American character in Westerns. Tonight we are diving even deeper into the character of this country with a lineup of Westerns that explore the American psyche. These are psychological Westerns that weren't afraid to face taboo subjects head-on and have complex protagonists at their centre. First up, a masterpiece of Western cinema directed by John Ford. From 1956, it's The Searchers. By the time he made The Searchers, John Ford had directed more than 100 films, with many of those being Westerns. And when you look at his filmography up until this point, The Searchers stands out as being sophisticated, emotionally nuanced, and one of the first Westerns to seriously deal with racism. Film historian Joseph McBride wrote in his book, Searching for John Ford, that this was a shrewd career move for Ford, showing a willingness to make a more modern-seeming Western for an audience who wanted greater psychological realism from the genre. But it's not all message, with The Searchers remaining one of the most beautiful movies ever made, and with a wonderful script by Frank Nugent, based on a book by Alan LeMay. Martin Scorsese once called the dialogue poetry, also praising the subtle acting of John Wayne. Set in Texas in 1868, Wayne plays the lead role of Ethan Edwards, a Civil War veteran who hates Native Americans and sets out for bloodthirsty revenge after members of his brother's family are killed by members of the Comanche tribe. The Searchers was made at a time when issues of race relations in America were firmly in the public consciousness, with activists such as Martin Luther King Jr. leading boycotts and protests for equality. And for John Ford, whose Westerns usually portrayed Native American characters as stereotypical savages, this film was a step toward putting the spotlight on the brutal treatment Indigenous people endured during the manifest destiny of the white settlers. From 1956, with Natalie Wood, Jeffrey Hunter and Vera Miles, this is The Searchers. John Ford's films and their attitude toward racism shifted over the years, with The Searchers and his later films such as Cheyenne Autumn and Sergeant Rutledge, which went even further to condemn racism toward Black and Native Americans. As film critic Roger Ebert once wrote, in the flawed vision of The Searchers, we can see Ford, Wayne and the Western itself awkwardly learning that a man who hates Indians can no longer be an uncomplicated hero. It's interesting, too, how Ford played with the mythical image of John Wayne, the one he helped to create. Wayne's character of Ethan is an example of the historically accurate prejudice that white settlers felt toward Native Americans, but instead of being a hero, he's a dark anti-hero. Author Glenn Frankel said that Ford gives you the typical John Wayne character on the surface, but subtly undermines the myth as you begin to realize our great hero is also a psychopath. All of this has added up to The Searchers being one of the greatest American movies ever made and an inspiration to film lovers around the world, including Steven Spielberg, who made a too-real imitation in the 7th grade shot in a friend's backyard. And next in TCM Spotlight on the American psyche in Westerns, we have another Western about racism toward Native Americans with an epic from 1946 directed by King Vidor and starring Jennifer Jones, Gregory Peck and Joseph Cotton.
Next on TCM, Duel in the Sun, then Winchester's 73. And later, I Shot Jesse James. There's a bounty on TCM tonight.